Okay, a warm welcome to John Butler in Nothing Conversation. I'm so delightful to have you as my guest here on this platform, John.
Thank you,
warm welcome to you. Warm welcome.
And to all your listeners, watchers.
So, how shall we start? Maybe I must admit as a beginning that I, while I'm watching or listening your videos, very often, well, maybe it's not often, it's almost each time, this brought tears in my eyes. It's just tears coming. And I don't know, it's just like some sweet sadness is merging from nowhere. Can you speak about this?
Yes,
you speak about with so much love about this, about love.
Yes, I can say a lot about it, Luchana. Do you know, I'm also half a Slav. I'm half a Russian. Did you know that?
Yes, I know your mother is Russian, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know that Russians have a very deep understanding of tears. And they say, don't they, that tears wash the soul. And you know, they talk of those saints that pray so slezami, don't they, with tears. Blessed are those souls, dear. And blessed is you, blessed are you, that you have that sort of open heart that can receive with tears. You know, there's nothing better, dear. Heart to heart. And it brings us to tears. It's true. I also cry very easily. And one of the great, I lived several years in Russia, and I have a great love for all things Russian. And one of the great lessons they taught me is the very high esteem that they have for tears. It's something that in the West we don't know. We don't have that understanding, which is to our poverty, to our loss. So you are blessed, and so am I, that for some reason something that comes out causes people, brings tears. In fact, as I'm speaking to you now, look, my eyes are filling with tears. Let's cry together, my darling.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's.
And do you know, Luchana, just this morning, I received a letter, a very sweet letter, from a woman in America who's been rather complicated, going to psychologists and things, and trying to become, you know, spiritually realized by reading a lot of clever books and things. And she said that recently she's had these moments when she just feels the presence of love, and she just feels that the only thing she wants to do is sit at the feet of Jesus and cry. And she asks me, is that really all I need to do? And I wrote back, I said, yes. So simple, isn't it?
Oh,
So simple, those of us that are blessed to
yeah.
have that sort of heart.
Yeah, it's so simple.
To love and be loved, my darling. Isn't that what we all of us want? And isn't that a reflection? Isn't that an earthly reflection of the relation between us and God? To love and be loved. That's the first one.
Yeah.
There you are. We understand each other, don't we?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like you say, it's so simple, and but where is the strive for future then? We are trying to protect something. We're trying to. Can you speak about time? I was wondering. It is simple. It is so simple, but suddenly we are striving to protect something in the near future, to be prepared. Do you hear me or no? Maybe something's coming on with the connection.
Well, yes, dear. You see, this is what you could call our worldly conditioning. That we've all future, and to think of preparing for the next generation, the time to come. What do I need to do? Well, and you see, we start thinking and what must I do? And the trouble is that if we do that, we are taken away from the present moment. And this experience of you and me looking in each other's eyes and melting into tears. And suddenly we begin to see, we lose it. Because all that we really need is here and now. Look, my dear, does a dog worry about tomorrow? Does the grass, the bird, do little children? We're told to become like little children, aren't we? To trust. And if you see, the world is very lawful. Everything is governed by law. If we lose this present moment, which is really the equivalent to losing paradise, then we fall into a lower state of consciousness and we have problems because we are absent from the presence of God. So we can, if we choose to, plan for tomorrow, but if we do, it's hard work because we're absent from the loving arms which holds us safe and in which there is no problem. Isn't that true?
Absolutely.
So much. Absolutely true. You see? So here am I. I've made many mistakes in life, my dear. And now I don't worry about tomorrow. Well, I try not to. I try to just sit in my chair here. Just sit. Look at you. Wait for the next question.
Oh dear. It's like all the questions are flying.
Oh, they're flying away. That's right. But, isn't that true? You see, absolute fact, Luchana, that in the moment now, there are no questions, are there?
None.
And there's no doubt. It's just simple. So what are we going to do for the next 40 minutes?
I think I have lost you for a while. But I'm hearing you're laughing. I think I have lost you for a while, John, but now it's okay. So here we are again. Happens from time to time. This is technical stuffs. So we are practically just speaking about love and
yes. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? After that little interruption, you see, we lose it, don't we? We lose this wonderful, what you can call loving connection. But then we come back to it because it's not really lost. It's always there. It's always present. And really the entire human problem is that we lose it. We can't get it. All we can do is really come back to where it is. It's rather like the sky, isn't it? You can never lose the sky. We can just forget about it or draw the curtains. And then we just have to draw the curtains again, and there it is.
yeah. So simple.
So simple.
So one could say, yeah, you're speaking about love, but look what's going on in the world right now.
Yes.
It's like the world is moving by fear of death, more probably. I don't know. It feels like this.
Well, of course, because you see, we're absent. We're not at home. We're not where we belong. So we're like lost sheep. We're frightened. You see, lost sheep are always talking between each other. What shall we do? One lost sheep to another. The blind lead the blind. But the answer to lost sheep is to come home. And so the shepherd, the good shepherd, does what he can to lead them home. Perhaps that's what you're doing. Each in our little way, we all have to help the great work. That's why it's called the work, the real work, which is to come home. Home to the love of God.
When you say God, it's like it is not just a word, because I've heard this word spoken by many people in different ways.
Yes, 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 yes.
And I also my background is not very religious because I grown up in Bulgaria. You know, this country was ruled by communists.
Yes, of course. Yes, yes.
And later, this urge came. I don't know what was it in the first place, but this urge for maybe to come home. I don't know.
Yes, yes, yes.
Can you
yes.
speak about
Yeah.
this, about God?
Yes, well, yes. Whether we use the word God or not, it really doesn't matter, does it? Because what we are experiencing and what was so clear at the start of this conversation, you don't have to give it a name, do you? You don't even have to call it love. It's just a self-evident fact. You feel better, don't you? Something about you feels good. Oh, that's enough. Once you start calling it names, somebody else calls it some other name, and before you know where you are, you're getting complicated, and you've lost it because you go into this other world of thinking, and you've missed the point. You lose it. So, like you, I'm a little bit nervous about using the word God, but it's difficult to know what to say. Just love of what? Love of the present, what's here. Yes, what is God indeed? What do we mean by it? Considering nobody knows, do they really? It's the funny thing, we talk about God so much, but nobody actually knows what it is. It's rather like when we talk about love, nobody knows what it is, do they? Or freedom, or happiness, all these things, or peace, all these real things, nobody knows what they are. Oh dear, oh dear.
I feel comfortable with not knowing, you know.
Oh my dear, you are a wise girl. So do I. I'm much more comfortable with not knowing. There's another lovely thing that I learned in Russia, that so many of Russian saints are called God's fools. How do you say? Duraki Božia. God's fools. Well, I couldn't think of a better compliment.
Yes. we are all
fools. Crying all the time on the God's fool. Yes, I like that, both of those. Oh, I do love Russia. Russians are so wise. They've got such wonderful, I say Russians, I know you Bulgarians are all in that same Orthodox understanding. Yes, I love that. Yes, yes. Yes, I love that phrase from the Bible. The wisdom of man is foolishness to God. And so it is, isn't it?
Exactly.
About knowledge, yes, indeed. Yes, it's much safer to not know, because the moment you see you know something, you put it in a little box, don't you? Called knowledge, you see, and somebody else knows something else, don't they? You see, so you have duality, and there you get conflict, because we all know different things. We all have different ideas about what God is, or what the answer to the world is, or the politics, or all these different complicated questions. Before we know where we are, slip down the slippery slopes of the bottomless pit, to outer darkness.
Is it scared there? Is it safe or scared there?
Yes, of course, yes, because in the real world, which is here and now, what is there to die? Yes, you're a young woman, I'm an old man, but the reality, which is this love that is communicating between us, that's in another dimension, isn't it? That's in a higher level of consciousness. It doesn't depend on our bodies, does it?
No, absolutely no. Mm.
Yes, well, dear, it's the same old situation that has been since the humanity, throughout humanity. You see that we've left paradise, and so we're living with what's called sin, which is absence from God. And as the Bible tells us, we're sinners, and this world is the world of sin, and that's why the world dies, because the wages of sin is death. It's all there in the good book. And it's true. So everything in this world that dies is not it.
And why we are so afraid of dying then?
Well, because we don't know the truth. We don't know home. We've lost home. And so we've lost the point of it, dear. We're lost. We're lost sheep. We're lost in thought. We think we're separate.
Separation is just a thought.
Well, it's real enough if that's what you believe, isn't it? But once let's come back to how it was with you and me when we started. You look in your eyes, and well, I don't know where you and me where do I end and you begin, or you end and I begin. We sort of like merge together, don't we? There's something which you call the third point, which is not you or me. It's a sort of the third point, and this is why in the Christian, well, I think in all religious traditions, it's not a world of two, of you and me. It's a world of three. The Trinity is the fundamental structure of creation. There's you, there's me, and there's that which is one. And this oneness, this presence of God or love, whatever you call it, is there in every situation. And it keeps the you and me in balance. It keeps it's the whole. You see, 3, 1, like that. And then you see life begins to make sense. Because whatever happens in this performance of the world, this up and down, you see, this is ever present. As Jesus says, I am with you always. You see, and Jesus is the Savior. And if we connect with this, we are saved from this seesaw of the world. And this is salvation, to recognize this. And when we lose it, we forget it and get back into this situation, life and death, good and bad, then you see we're lost again. So we need saving, which is coming back to this. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
It's just common sense, isn't it? It's not difficult at all. Exactly. Where's all the complication?
There is no complication at all.
No.
Just
Well, I'm sorry, my dear. I don't know What are you going to ask me next?
So do I. I don't know. So do I. Maybe. Okay, one question is coming like, do you have any message?
Any message?
Yeah. What is your message?
Just a loving smile. Yes, you know, look, as a young man, I was a farmer, and I felt my mission then was to, of course, make the world a better place and grow more food. And of course, I was at the beginning of the organic movement, and I was very concerned about land. I wanted to reforest the deserts, and I was at the beginning of all that. And then, I suppose, gradually, of course, I thought entirely in terms of physical work then. I was a strong young man, worked with my hands. And then I began to sort of, I suppose, think more with my mind, talk a bit. I used to do a lot. I learned to meditate. I used to teach and lecture on meditation. It was all very new then. Meditation was almost unknown in the West then. And so I felt that was my mission, really, to spread that. So I've done quite a lot of that sort of work in my life. I always felt the importance of bringing people back to nature. Being a country boy myself, I saw more and more people living in towns and completely separated from grass and trees and green and lovely things, never mind the animals. So I felt that was a part of my mission, really. But as I've got older, I talk less, really, and I've become ever... Yes, I know. I started, when I really began to understand the importance of prayer, what it means to surrender to God, surrender to what we call God. I have to use that word, God, otherwise it's difficult to talk about it. You know, and that in surrendering to that almighty power, that most merciful influence of God that really knows everything, whereas I know nothing, and I'm just a weak man who can't do anything, that this was really the most effective of work. Then I began to talk less. So you see, now as an old man, when you asked me, I forget what the question was, but you asked me what my message was. That's right.
Yeah.
I really find the most effective message these days is silence, honestly. Because, you see, if I talk in words, I define it. You see, there's my little message like that, you see. And somebody else has another message like that, don't they? But see, silence, there is no limit, is there? Silence is universal. Because see, the great discovery in spiritual work is that silence is actually the real communication. And that the emptiness of spirit is actually the everything. See, it's the solid objects of this world that are little prisons, little boxes of this and that, you see. Whereas the total freedom of spirit, you see, the sky, in other words, the spiritual sky is all-containing, isn't it? And that's what's called the everlasting arms, the love without limit, the love that has no end and that never fails and that never says no.
Unconditional.
Unconditional love, you see. So that really is my message now. In a way, you see, the less of me, the less of John, the more of God. So my message is really nothing. You call your channel, very wise girl, you call your channel the Nothing Channel. Amen. Well, there's nothing I like better than being called Mr. Nothing, because that actually is the truth, you see. That this old man you see sitting in front of you is just going to die and go back to dust, isn't it? But the real I am, what I really am, which is the same as what you are, is this spirit, you see, which of course is also Jesus. And what can better convey that than not talking about it, but being it. So it's extraordinary. It is wonderful. See, the mercy and the wisdom of God is so wonderful, you see, that he gives us a long life to discover our foolishness, to discover that we know nothing. And then at the end, you see, we're brought to silence. Eventually we learn that we just strayed away from home.
So beautifully said. Oh. When you speak about silence, I just remember when, let's say, the first glimpses of this mystery, or I don't know, truth or whatever, start revealing somehow. And there is just an inner impulse to share and to scream and to, but I find out that nobody cares. At least no, it. And after this initial urge, I settled down a little bit, and I wanted to ask you if it is like for you the same way or similar, or no, or yes, I don't know. How do you feel about this? There is an urge to speak and to share. There is an impulse.
Yes, dear. Well, that's how it is at the beginning. It certainly was for me too, yes. When I first yes, I think I was very, very young, actually, as I began to feel this sort of, what you could call these mystic feelings. And of course, I'd talk about them to whoever would listen. So I very soon in life learnt the disappointment that other people couldn't really sort of understand what I was talking about. It wasn't as real for them as it was for me. And I felt very lonely at the time. And this loneliness has actually been with me throughout my life, that I've had so few people that I could really share the depth of my feelings with. I've made countless attempts to do it, But no, I've always ended up on my own, really. And it's a very strange thing, you know. I'm 83 now, and it was only 3 years ago that, much to my surprise, I didn't ask for it. I didn't really want it. In fact, I said no when I was first asked to be interviewed. And so I was rather pushed into it. And now I find that, look, a nice girl like you from Bulgaria wants to talk to me. Isn't that amazing? And, you know, there's quite a lot of other people that are interested in me. Well, I've lived 80 years of my life. Nobody was interested in me at all. I was completely, talk about Mr. Nobody. I really was Mr. Nobody. I didn't even find a nice girl to love me. And now I know I'm too old.
Oh, you have such a lovely sense of humor. Plus,
it wasn't much fun at the time, dear. I've been the most unhappy man in the world. Really, I have. Talk about tears. I know all about tears. So, but you know, if you read the lives of the saints, which are very, very interesting, and Orthodoxy has absolutely millions of saints, doesn't it? Many, many well-documented lives. It's very, very interesting because very many of them will have had similar experiences, and you know, ended up on their own, living in caves or hermits and that, often being laughed at, being persecuted, many of them, because other people just couldn't understand what was clear to them. They thought they were crazy or mad or something. No, there's nothing new about this situation. So but you see, also the trouble is really that, to begin with, you see, we think that I want to share this. We've still got this separate me, you see. And this is really the problem. It's easy when you see it, but at the time you don't see it. You think, I'm going to fight the good fight and spread the mission. I'm going to change the world, have a channel on YouTube and influence everybody. And, you know, and of course, you know, look on YouTube, there are hundreds, thousands of beautiful young people all spreading the mission. Well, good luck to them. Maybe they do. And but you see, ultimately, it's not my work, is it? I actually am the obstacle. We can talk a lot about purity and impurity because, you see, this body which fails, this is mortality. Mortality will die. And everything really that mortality touches is in that sense corrupted. And so finally, if we go on learning by our mistakes, which is the way life teaches us, we come to this. We really, with a bit of luck, we become more humble. And this is another thing I learned in Russia. The importance of humility. In fact, there's nothing in this world more important than humility. It's the most important thing. It's our safety, because pride, which is the ego, which is me, I'm going to convert the world. We always end up having a fall, making a mistake, making a fool of ourselves, even distorting that basic vision to something that's separate. I'm right and you're wrong. Think how commonly that enters into religion, these spiritual discussions. He's better than me, he's right, he's wrong. See, this is all what corrupts it, whereas humility recognizes that, well, maybe he does know better than me. Maybe I'm the least worthy to carry the flag. So we talk less maybe and listen more.
Mm.
End up maybe just being a... Isn't it interesting how orthodoxy admires Molchaniki,
Yeah.
those that keep silent? This was quite new to me, coming from the West and learning about orthodoxy.
True.
True. Orthodoxy is very wise. I mean, we've lost a lot of that wisdom in the West. The wisdom of silence.
Mm.
Again, I've forgotten the question, dear. I've wandered about all over the place.
Oh, I forgot as well, but never mind. It's so nice sitting with you. It's actually words are meaningless in this.
They have less
sense.
meaning. They're at a lower level of consciousness, aren't they?
Yeah.
Ultimately, one goes beyond words, beyond description. That's why nobody can describe God, of course, because it's beyond description.
Yeah. Maybe I would like to ask you something about so-called practice. Let's say there are many practices, various teachings and methods, and you speak often about meditation. I also practice meditation 2 or 3 years, and lately I practice each day, maybe an hour or less, it depends. But now it's like meditation is happening. I don't know how to put in words. It's happening without any effort and without even need to close my eyes. I don't know how to. It's just like sitting and watching the snow, which is on the trees, and that just melt my heart. But I would like to ask you what is your, I don't know, view, opinion. Does one need meditation or practice?
Well, it depends very much on the individual. You see, everyone is different. We all start from different points on the mountain, you see, and with different objects, with different objectives. So it's a very good question to start by asking, what do you really want? Yes, you're right. There are very, very many methods of meditation, and the word is used. It's not like this word God. So many people are talking about it and coming up with different versions, and it all gets very confusing, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
What is meditation? Well, again, I'm not sure it is very helpful to give definitions. What can I say? Well, let's go back to my own experience. When I was a young man, I was 26. When I went to a school of meditation and asked them to teach me to meditate. And they asked me this question, what do you really want? I remember saying, I gave the answer. I said, I want God. Well, they just wrote that on a bit of paper, and that was it. What did I mean by it? But I suppose I'd been told, or I'd learned something about this thing, spirit, which of course I didn't know what it was. I remember when I started to meditate, it sort of opened up into this space. As a young man, I'd always loved open spaces. I was a farmer, and I loved the open fields. I loved to climb mountains. I'd been to sea. I loved the open sea. I loved the great open spaces of this world. In fact, my favorite saying was, "Don't fence me in." And when I started to meditate, I discovered this, I think it opened up, and there was this nothing really, but this space. I was thrilled by that. I thought, this is terrific. And I suddenly thought, well, this is spirit. This is the invisible spirit that they're all talking about, but nobody could actually, and this is a practical way of realizing spirit. It's not just words in the Bible, it's actually real. You can experience it. So I was very excited by that. I loved that. And I suppose that's why I've kept meditating ever since, all my life, nearly 60 years. Like you, twice a day, sit down and meditate. Of course, it has developed enormously. That first, this nothingness, this spirit, believe it or not, it seems nothing in terms of the world. It actually develops and develops and develops, and then there's without limit, it's without end. Well, yes, to begin with, I was given a method, a mantra, and I was given a discipline to sit down twice a day and do it, which I did, because at that time, no doubt, I needed it. I was a farmer. I was busy from morning to night working on the farm, and if I didn't have a discipline, I don't suppose I would have sat down and meditated, but I did. And so gradually this developed in me. And probably the most widespread difficulty encountered by people these days is being busy, hyperactivity. They're busy rushing about. If they're not doing things, they're talking, talk, or they're listening on their phones, or they're watching internet. The mind is in this state of agitation, almost constant agitation. And what is needed so much is this balancing factor of rest. In fact, there's nothing wrong with energy, with being active, but activity needs balancing with rest. Otherwise, things get out of balance. Now, in the wisdom of life, when we get tired, we sleep, don't we? We sit down and have a rest. But there's also the need for mental rest, because what the real curse of life today is this overactivity of the mind, agitated mind, restless mind. And what we need is a way of resting the mind. And that's really what meditation does. You see, if I can demonstrate it with my hands, look, you see, this is the world of forgetting. Forgetting. Got it? Look, I've got a pair of spectacles. Getting. Now, what meditation is that, which is forgiveness. Forgive, you see. It opens up, instead of this world of getting, get this, which of course leads to the next day, this question you ask me, what do I do about tomorrow? I need an answer to what to do with the world tomorrow, Well, if you just learn to do that, first of all, it gives you rest. That's better. Like leaning back in a hot bath at the end of the day. You just relax in the hot water and you feel better, don't you? You see, that's the beginning of many, many, many things which later on may develop into trust. Trust in what we could call higher authority, or wisdom that is wiser than yours and mine. Trust in God, in other words. And it starts with this ability to let go and rest. You know, most of us really, in our deep, deep hearts, we just want to love and be loved, don't we? And is there anything more wonderful than being held in the arms of the beloved? Just being held quietly in loving arms, you see. And that is because the spiritual, this world is really a reflection of what the real world, which is spirit. And this is the surrender actually into the love of God in human terms. It's the equivalent thing. So ultimately, this is what we really want in life. I say this, it applies to probably everybody really. But we've lost this, so we think it's here, there, or everywhere, and this or that. And then we get disappointed because we find it isn't. The holiday comes to an end, you know. So again, I've rather wandered from the question you were asking about a method of meditation. But see, to begin with, we probably need some sort of a method because it's rather like a school. We need to go through all these different classes, you see. To begin with, we need to be told what to do. We need some sort of discipline because otherwise we're so, all over the place. You need to have some sort of, come on, like when you get a new dog, a puppy, you hold him on a lead, don't you? And you say, no, learn to that's way. We're just the same, dear. Like a lot of silly young goats running all over the place.
Yeah.
So discipline's always been a part of spiritual life, spiritual work. Some people we're all different temperaments. Some of us need more discipline than others. Some people never really let go. Some people need a structure to their lives. Some people don't. Some of us are more free spirits. Some of us like to read a lot. Some of us are more, many different sorts of people. That's why I don't like talking too generally about meditation, because traditionally meditation is taught one-to-one from a teacher to a pupil. This is how I was taught. And this is how I like to, if anybody asks me, I try to do the same. I don't like to sort of talk on the internet too much about it because people are different, have different needs.
Yeah. Each one has his own, one could say, journey or path.
Yes, indeed we do. Indeed we do.
I'm asking this because there are, so to speak, two different approach, one could say. So one say you need to meditate. Without meditation, there is nothing you can attain.
Yes.
Sort of, if there's something to attain at all. Or the other say, forget about meditation. It is already here now, this moment.
Both are true, really, darling, but it depends what we mean by meditation. I live here in a little town in a very beautiful part of England. And there's a lovely river that just flows through the town, and we get many tourists come here. And many of them, they just come and sit by the river and maybe feed the ducks. And they, at the end, they have a lovely day, and then they go home and they feel better. Well, what's that if not meditation, dear? So really, anything that makes you feel better is a step in the right direction. And we all have like an inner compass within ourselves, you see, that is pointing towards what makes us happy or makes us feel better. So we have this natural discrimination to select out of life what we enjoy most or love most or makes us feel better. We choose the people we prefer. We eat the food we prefer. If you like feeding ducks, that's one thing. Some people like to go to football matches. Well, that's a sort of meditation, isn't it? So really anything that leads us in this direction is helpful and is really, in the real sense of the word, meditation. Think of how years ago people just spent the whole winter in a state of sort of just semi-hibernation, just looking at the fire from the fireside, you know.
Beautiful.
Or the women would knit or do a little some simple thing with their hands. Men would make little wooden things, carving. It's all perfect meditation, dear. Perfect meditation. My dad was an artist and he loved to draw. And I soon realized that just that sitting quietly, observing and drawing, what a wonderful meditation, natural meditation it is. In the old monasteries, monks used to practice calligraphy, didn't they? Writing, beautiful handwriting.
Yeah, and they also make this mandala from sand. They
did.
Then destroy it in the end.
Well, like behind you, I see it. Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, all those things you see are traditional forms of meditation because they help to bring this active mind to rest, don't they? So really, if people feel they don't want to go and learn a special mantra, often just taking the dog for a walk is a very natural meditation, isn't it? Or just looking out of the window. There are many things. And then some want to go further and some go further and further. So what is meditation? It's what makes us feel better, basically.
Yeah, so simple and obvious.
For rather it's, yes. I don't think I can give you a better answer, really. And then the one's ambition, can you use that word, or one's, if you're a bit greedy like me, you sort of want more. You want not just a little bit of love sometimes, you want it all the time. And yes, gets better and better. Yes, that's what eventually draws us home, you see. So we get little glimpses of heaven, little glimpses of, well, you see, look how lovely it was when you and I first met, and we just fell into love, didn't we? Immediately, just fell in love, just like that.
Absolutely.
Why can't we do it all the time with everybody? Of course, most people won't have it. Most people go through life closed over.
Yeah.
They won't even look at you. They won't even look in your eyes, will they?
Some people are afraid to look in the eyes.
Exactly, sweetheart. They're afraid. I know. Often they're just so busy talking they can't allow anything else in. Yes, there are many impediments, and of course these impediments need to gradually be removed. We need to overcome them or lose them or let them go. This really is a little work as it goes on all one's life. So yes, if anybody's interested, I've been very devoted to meditation. I really have. I practiced nearly 60 years and still do twice every day. Perhaps like you, I also feel actually one meditates all the time. I think sort of it's become natural to me now to be present. But see, when we start this work, we're naturally absent. We're not present, are we?
Yeah.
If you look at people, almost nobody is present. You look at people in the street, you'll find that almost everybody is either worrying about the virus or the shopping or what to get for lunch or something. And almost nobody is actually present. It's amazing, isn't it? The whole world it's just not here. It's absent. No wonder we're all lost. The politician, nobody is present. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Who is actually present? Of course, the dogs are, the cats are, the animals are, the trees are, the flowers are, but man is absent. Man's the most unnatural creature in the world. The whole problem is man. The whole problem is me.
It's like we are so much obsessed about this me. It's like it's it's like it's in the center of.
Exactly, it has.
Well, but actually, in the center, there's nothing there.
Well, we can say that when we're very wise. But for most of our lives, we're totally convinced that the me, which is the separate entity, you see, which we think we are, this is our reality. And so, if it gets virus, we want to heal it. But of course, it isn't me. Not what I really am. And there's another answer for what is meditation. You see, meditation is really a method of coming out of what we are not and realizing what we are. But it's a long, long process, my dears, because we hold on so firmly to this idea of me and myself, me and my suffering very often, me and my mission in life.
Does life need any mission?
Yes. Beware of missionaries, my dear. They're dangerous people. Like, beware of people who think they know. Yes, that we love this so much that we're very unwilling to surrender it. And of course, our education, especially in the West, there's all this emphasis on human rights. It's the worst thing that's ever started. Everybody thinks it's marvelous. This is so important, but actually, all it's doing is making life more difficult because we're building up this belief in the ego, in man's separation, in each person's separate life, and which isn't really helpful at all in the long run. It's really much more advantageous to be humbled in life and to not get your own way. In fact, to live under discipline.
And sometimes when the things are not happening in your way, it's actually the best way.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. Yes, that's how we learn most.
So much, I don't know, there is a distance, but in the same time, there is no distance at all. And I can feel it.
Well, between you and me, besides we're talking. Well, exactly, there isn't. No, I know. What is this? See, time and space are not as real as we think. In reality, they're just fabrications of the mind. And the real reality is not of this world. It's not of time and space. It's timeless and it's spaceless. This is the truth. Incidentally, what do we mean by truth? You see, truth is what doesn't change.
Mm.
Everything in time and space is changing, isn't it?
I
Truth
have such a question, you know, what is truth?
it is true. Well, what did the answer that Jesus gave? Was it? I am. It's this one. You see, you see. Here is the world of I am John, I am Luchana, and here is just I am. You see, I am without qualifications, nameless and formless, and universal. And always present. We can never be closer to this, never be closer to God than here and now.
So it is illusion then if someone thinks that tomorrow or after 3 weeks or months.
Yes. Well, it is, dear. It is if we're practiced and able to be present, yes. And of course, for a few minutes, perhaps, especially where there's willing communication between two people, we can hold each other in this blessed state. But we both came to this meeting prepared, and it's easy.
Mm.
Do you know, one of the most dangerous little words at least in English, is the word but. Because people will say, but what about getting lunch ready? or what about the virus? Or what about the all the latest crisis somewhere? And immediately we're taken away, aren't we? We lose it. We fall. It's very well described. We talk about man's fall from paradise. It's right. You see, we fall in consciousness. We fall from this high state of consciousness into lower states of consciousness. We're coming down the mountain, and suddenly, instead of just all being, there's just one stone at the top, isn't there? And down at the bottom, millions of all these different stones. That's exactly how life is. At the top, there's only one I am. There's only one Jesus, only one Adam in paradise, the spiritual being. Whereas here down, you see, we come down. It's just like water vapor, sort of condensing into rain, which then falls and freezes in the world, freezes into sharp ice. And the ice breaks up, and see, here we are. Humanity is really just all lots of bits of frozen consciousness, all frozen into our separate little existences. So we're all sharp edges, hurting each other. And it's really, and then the ice melts, and this is why tears are such a blessed thing. You see, tears melt.
Yeah.
Tears are the melting process, melting the heart. And then you see, we discover this oneness, this blessed, the ice sort of evaporates back into what it was originally, which is this sort of vapor, which is spirit. See, it's so simple, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So love leads the way. But some people love easily and some don't. Some it's very difficult. Some people want to think their way there. Others love more easily.
Well, I don't know what to to say.
Don't know what to say, neither do I.
Just deep. There is a gratitude, and
I feel the same. I feel the same, dear. Just thankfulness and love for the opportunity.
It's just the feeling is that I know you very well. I don't know. It's like we've met before and hundred thousands of times.
I know, darling.
Always. It's like always. Oh.
It is true, isn't it? We do. The truth is that we're one. We're not as separate as we think. And sometimes one has these blessed opportunities to realize it. And you know instinctively that it's true. You don't need anybody else to tell you.
It's like you don't need anyone to tell you that you love. Exactly. Because you know you love.
You love, that's right. Yeah. And that's the only thing we really need. That's it.
You still practice meditation in this church, or now not?
Well, the church has been locked for
yeah,
nearly a year now with this virus, so I haven't been allowed to go there. So I meditate at home. But yes, for nearly 23 years, I used to go to the church. Do you know, I started doing it in Russia, actually. I remember I was in Russia. I lived several years in Russia, and I was. Do you mind? Can I tell you this story?
Yeah, sure, please.
And I'd been. Well, I'm not a teacher, but just because I speak English, and I happen to be living in a small town in Russia where people wanted to hear English, so I got pulled into teaching English, or not really teaching it because I don't know how to teach English, but just speaking English. But that rather came to an end, and I didn't know what to do. And then I suddenly felt I was received a sort of message, so it seemed, to go and pray in a certain church. Well, actually, it wasn't a church, because you know how it was in Soviet times. The churches were destroyed, so it was just like a concrete. It was actually a soldiers' club, just an empty concrete shell. But they'd started making it into a church. There were a few icons there and one or two little other things. So I went, and I used to go and stand there. This was the Orthodox people like to pray standing, don't they? So I did that, and I would just stand and pray. And I felt, gosh, this is for most of my life, I've been looking for work for what I really wanted to do. At first I was a farmer, and then for many, many years I was wandering around, not really knowing what to do. And suddenly I discovered this is the work, this is what I want to do, this is what I can do and love doing. So I began to think of prayer as my work. It really was. So that's what Russia taught me. And then when I came back to England, I started doing the same in our local church here in England. I started just up the hill, just not far away, 10-minute walk. And I started going up there, and they gave me my own keys. I go early in the morning when nobody else is there. I've got my own corner with my blankets in winter when it's cold, and I sit there. And I did that for 20 years or so, and then, I know what happened. And then something very surprising. There was a man called Phil who happened to read one of my books, and he came, and he started joining me. So then there were two of us, but up till that time I'd been nearly always on my own. So you never know. So maybe something happened to all that praying. Maybe that's why I'm now on internet. I don't know. And then Phil, you see, who's a clever boy who could do things with computers and that, and made these videos. So that's how it all started. But
Lovely. Yeah, I wanted to ask about the books also to mention.
Oh, the
At
books.
least, yeah.
Well,
There are 2 books, right?
2. Oh no, sweetheart. There are 7 books that have been published, and there are 3 more which are just about to be published. So there'll be 10 books in all.
Lovely.
But I've never really intentionally written a book at all. But I suppose just because I was alone for nearly all my life, when sort of, I suppose you would call them insights, special moments, special sort of, I sort of saw something, saw the fairies or saw something, that I felt was important. I often just wrote it down on a little bit of paper. And later on, when I traveled, as I did, I would write long letters home to my parents, and because I was always alone, traveling alone. During the several years I spent in Russia, I was alone also, so I would keep at the end of every day, I'd usually write down what happened, write a sort of journal, my thoughts, and these were kept. And then really, when I found that there were some people in this world interested in what had happened to me, I suddenly thought, well, let's publish them. So I started publishing them. That's really, so if anybody's interested to know how I got to this stage in life and sort of my adventures, it's all there written out in my books, including a very long book with 2 volumes about my time in Russia, which I think is I think that's one of my best books, really, because it faces these awful questions of how to exist in this impossible world. And sorry, I've knocked over the microphone. And there's a word called forbearance in English, which is a very good word. It's those of us that have some sort of feeling for spiritual work. They often find it very difficult just to live in this world that seems to have no understanding of it. Well, and of course, in countries that had long experience of communism, when faith was all, when they did their best to destroy it, how did people manage? And how do they manage now that there's a bit more freedom and opportunity to rediscover this direction in life? So anyway, that's what I wrote about Russia. I call the book Mystic Forbearance. The other books are all called Mystic something or other, Mystic Beginnings, Mystic Apprentice, Mystic Naturally, about my time in Africa, Mystic Burning when I was in the USA.
Mystic Approach.
Mystic Approaches, that's right. They all tell. I've had a long, very interesting life, and anyway, it's all there in my books if anyone's interested.
Wonderful.
I hope you'll put a link on this thing. Will you put a link to my website?
Yes. Yeah.
So find them.
And I would like to invite you as well. I'm going to hold. They call it live show, but it's not like a show. It's going to be live on probably YouTube, maybe next month, once per month, and I will choose, so to speak, people which I'm going to make a conversation like this, but will be watched live from many people. So these people can also asking questions or share something. It's going to be live. So if you,
well, dear,
if you are, I don't know, willing to.
I'm a bit frightened of new technology, but if you'll help me and Phil will help, which I'm sure he will, then I'll have a go. Thank you very much. I'd be
Oh, I'm also not so much,
no
into technology. It's like
well, then we'll have a go, as we say. We'll try.
Great.
All right now.
I don't know.
Are
These
you
40
exhausted?
minutes turn out like to be, I don't know how much. Oh, no time.
We talked for an hour and a half. Amazing.
Yeah, in the first, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes we speak. I don't know. Never mind.
Are you going to cut it or?
Oh, no, absolutely no. Maybe we will split it on 2 parts. We'll see how long it is, but nothing will be cut.
All right then. Well, you see, you were what an interesting host you have been.
Oh,
I've enjoyed.
It's
so
such a pleasure. I cannot explain and express just this smile, and it's like here something wanted to say something, but it's hard to speak.
We call it heart to heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
The best language, the best communication.
Yeah.
So,
thank you so much, John. Yeah, so do I. I'm going to stop the record now, but not the end and the meeting, just to